I want to share my story, not for sympathy. I'm not looking for anyone to feel bad for me. I want to give hope to somebody that may have or is going through the same thing that I went through. I think I'm ready. Sports have been a part of my life since the moment I could walk. I grew up playing hockey, lacrosse, and competitive gymnastics. When I was 13 years old, my life changed. We were probably about a couple weeks into high school, and I get pulled out to go right to Sick Kids in Toronto. Little did I know that would be the last time I was at home for the next 5 weeks of my life. Once the testing began, the biggest concern was they found fluid around my heart. My heart rate was as low as 36 beats per minute at rest. I was put on bed rest for a whole week. Being so active, I felt like my world was ending. Any food they gave me was upsetting my stomach even more, but they were just trying to force feed me in order to stay alive and gain a little bit of weight back. Day after day turned into week after week, and I was stuck there. I couldn't see my parents during the day. They had to go home. The only time they could visit me was at night, and I just basically spent the whole time eating. 5 weeks later, on November 11th, 2013, I was finally discharged. Nobody really came to a conclusion of what the diagnosis was. As much as I wanted to get to the bottom of the diagnosis, at 13 years old, I was just happy to be free. I was happy to see my family again. I was happy to sleep in my own bed again, start high school. Eventually, everything kind of went uphill. I turned to fitness and exercise in order to build my body back up. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to either drive myself to the gym for a quick workout or sports practice before school began. I even had a spare hour during my school day that I just drove to the gym and worked out. I loved it so much. I loved every second of it. I was seeing so many results physically, mentally, emotionally. It just brought joy to my day. In the evenings, I would go to my sports practice, come home late at night, stay up until 1 a.m. doing schoolwork. It was all so important to me. Although it may not have been the healthiest, I was fully obsessed. I loved fitness, and it was everything I cared about. I remember one day, I was at home watching TV, and I saw this commercial come on. It was a high-level athlete that was throwing weights around, doing sprints, flipping tires, and I said to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to do something fun like that. So right then and there, I signed up for CrossFit. CrossFit became my life for the next 6 years. I was able to work on myself, but also still have that camaraderie that I was missing from team sports. I developed a strong obsession with pushing my body to the absolute limit. I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to keep going. I wanted to see where my mind and body could take me. During the pandemic, the only thing I had was fitness. At this time, my health issues started creeping back in. I was tired every day, was in stomach pain every day, and I just didn't know what to do at this point. I would have to make frequent trips to the hospital in debilitating pain, only to come back with an inconclusive test result. I was left frustrated, beyond belief. I felt like all these health issues were holding me back from reaching my full potential as an athlete and as an individual. Eventually, I was able to get a food intolerance test, which came back very shocking to me. I had to eliminate all my favorite foods and was left with basically potatoes, meat, nuts and seeds, and a few fruits and vegetables. I was feeling a lot better. But again, something still just didn't feel right. I just kept pushing through day after day, not knowing, hoping that one day it would clear up. Once I regained some of my energy, I had this insane drive to just start setting goals for myself. I decided, in the spur of the moment, to go out and run my first half marathon without a proper training plan. I hadn't ran more than 10 kilometers before. I was running probably 2 times a week, maybe 3. I remember finishing it and just dropping right to the ground, thinking, what the heck did I just do? But it felt amazing, and that's what sparked my interest to push for these crazy goals, to see what I was capable of achieving, because that feeling I had after that run was a feeling that I wanted to feel again. As the pandemic progressed, I felt more and more confined. I realized I could continue living at home and keep feeling the way I felt, or I could move on to bigger, better things, seek new challenges, and that's what I did. I moved to British Columbia to start a new life, to start fresh, and seek out even harder challenges than I had before. Once I got settled in, I went right ahead to picking my next challenge. I hopped on the Guinness World Record website and I applied to break the world record for the most chest-to-ground burpees done in 1 hour by females. The training was a lot of long, hard days in the gym. I would do a lot of burpees, I would do a lot of running, I would do a lot of strength training. So the day came, August 8th, 2021. I went into that day more ready than I've ever been in my entire life. I knew I had it. The previous record was 775 reps. I honestly don't remember much. There was a lot of up and down. All I remember is the hour ended with 829 reps. I had beaten it. I had done it. And it was the best feeling I've ever had in my entire life. To have a Guinness World Record, to be in that world record book, was something that a child dreams of. Unfortunately, the next goal I had was interrupted by a very, very bad illness. I had in the back of my mind that I wanted to train for an Ironman. It's something I've always wanted to do before the day I die. The following year, the summer of 2022, I got sick. Sick to the point where I thought I was gonna die. I was back home in Ontario for the summer when I started getting absolutely the worst stomach pain that I've had in my entire life. Worse than the pain I had when I was 13 years old in the hospital. Anything I ate, it was going right through me. It was terrible. Eventually, the symptoms passed for about a month. I went to do a running race, and I didn't know why my performance was so bad. I thought I was going to do so well. A couple weeks later after that race, my symptoms started coming back again. I was lying on the floor in pain and I couldn't even move. I was trying my best to keep up with my training while all this was going on. When I went to the hospital, they just kind of shrugged me off, gave me antibiotics, and said that should do the trick. Meanwhile, everything just kept getting worse. My legs started swelling extremely. You could put your thumb imprint in my leg and it would stay there. There was so much fluid. I started getting electrical shocks all through my body. I had certain body parts going numb at night. I was laying in bed staring at the ceiling thinking, I'm gonna die. Every day just kept getting worse and worse. I tried to go to the gym because for me that was therapy. Meanwhile, I didn't know it was making me worse. Eventually, I got to the point where I had to urgently fly back home to Ontario to be with my family and to seek healthcare. Endless testing began. I had full ultrasounds on my legs to test for blood clots, which is common with fluid in your legs, also known as pitting edema. I had multiple ultrasounds of my heart, x-rays of my chest because I was having such bad chest and heart pain. I was scared. I was so scared. Turns out they found a very, very bad toxin in my intestines that was causing all these issues. My mental health was really suffering. I was anxious. I was scared to sleep, thinking I wouldn't wake up the next day. I was given antibiotics again, but nothing was getting better. Physical activity was taken away from me again, and I would just get flashbacks to when I was 13 years old. I vowed to myself this would never happen to me ever again. And here I was, in a similar situation, but different, going through it all over again, thinking it was never gonna end. Why me? Why am I gonna die? What did I do to deserve this? I took my life into my own hands and figured no one's going to save me but me. I seeked out to multiple healthcare providers elsewhere in the country, and we eventually found a place to get fecal transplants. So fecal transplants are meant to replace the good bacteria in your intestines, repopulate it in order to get rid of all the bad toxins, what was in my intestines at the moment. So for the next 2 weeks, every night, we had to self-administer fecal transplants through an enema in order to fix this problem. I was still having all the anxiety. I was still having all the stabbing pains around my body, the fluid in my legs, which just made me feel desperate. I remember the exact day when I had a stool sample done and it was clear. The toxin was supposedly gone, and I was able to slowly start living my life again. And eventually, the diagnosis was found. I was diagnosed with colitis. All the symptoms from the last 10 years finally added up. The fluid in my legs, the digestive discomfort, the numbing and tingling all over my body, and especially the chronic fatigue. Colitis gives me a lot of inflammation in my intestines, which is the reason for all my food sensitivities and intolerances. That's why my diet is so limited. Since knowing the diagnosis, I was able to train and run for a 50-mile ultramarathon in Texas with a broken foot, and now I am currently training for a full Ironman triathlon. All my past challenges in life have set me up to be the person I am today. When you've had times in your life where your body has failed you, you really start to appreciate the things it can do for you. It's important not to give up on yourself and to keep going when times get tough. I don't want to go through life saying, what if I did this? What if I could have done that? Or using my diagnosis as an excuse. At the end of my life, I want to remember that I pushed my body to the limit, that I did everything I could to live the life I wanted to live, to achieve the things I wanted to achieve. The feeling you have when you've worked so hard for a goal and you finally cross that finish line, or you finally get that Guinness World Record, it's amazing. The feeling you have is indescribable. I want everybody to experience those feelings. I want people to surprise themselves and do things they never thought they could ever do. I've never shared a lot of this because I always felt embarrassed to be known as the sick kid. Now as I'm older, I realize there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It shows my strength, courage, and work ethic to keep going. You really can do anything you want. You just have to have the work ethic and truly believe. People tend to judge you by your looks. I'm small, and I know I'm small. But what they don't know is what I'm going through and what my body went through. My body physically has a hard time processing the food I eat. It's hard to gain size because of that, but I'm working on it. I'm always working on it. And I also don't want to slow down and rest because then my mental health suffers more than my physical health. It's me trying to find the balance between the two.
Maybe it's time to surrender. I'm ready to fight.